Part one is attract better clients. And let's face it, look, the hottest thing going on today is, and really it's a dramatic shift in the market. Google is showing these AI overviews, their version of ChatGPT, 30% of searches. Now, I want to sort of highlight this because that is a dramatic shift, right? If you think about it, 30% of the time, Google calls it one-click results. 30% of the time, people can answer their question without clicking on an LSA, without clicking on an ad, without clicking on a maps, without going to your website. And that's a dramatic change in the industry. ChatGPT is significant too. And ChatGPT is grabbing 8 or 9% of the search market. So it's very significant. But if you think of it, Google's still the big dog by far and away. Google is 10x. And number two is YouTube, which is owned by Google. And then everything else pales in comparison. So the vast majority of our searches, the vast majority of our traffic goes through Google. And when I say us, I mean lawyer websites, in particular, personal injury lawyer websites. It's a little different. You can generate traffic on Facebook for some of the other categories, but we're going to talk a lot about lawyers today and a lot about personal injury. A lot of other things, a lot of things we talk about are relevant for everybody else. But this is a game changer, and that's why I'm emphasizing it. Here's what a search looked like before the AI overviews, and then we're watching these coming in labs, but now Google's saying 30% of the searches look like this. So how do I choose a car accident attorney? And they're showing this AI overview, is what they call it, AI overview result. And that's their version of ChatGPT. Now, if I click show more, the good news is Google is showing the websites they used to compile the answer. So like ChatGPT, AI overviews, Google Gemini, it goes out, it reads the entire internet, and it comes up with the answer, the best answer to your question. Well, welcome everybody. This month, we're going to talk about the law firm advantage. 3 breakthrough shifts to attract better clients, close more cases, and build a 5-star reputation. I'm here with my good friend, Tim Sawyer. I'm going to introduce you in a minute. We called this an exclusive limited seat coaching call. So we're your coaches today. We're going to reveal this really fantastic framework for 3 important parts of every law firm that can really take you from 1 to 10x. The 3 pieces of the puzzle. Number 1 is attract better clients, attract more clients, attract more leads. And the face of Google has changed. We're going to talk all about that in just 1 minute. Number 2, you've got to close more clients. And this is something we haven't been paying enough attention to as an industry. We're paying a ton of attention to it at 10 Golden Rules. And I'm going to share with you a couple of proprietary programs. Tim's going to share some of his expertise on conversion, because there's only so many leads available today with all these big competitors in the marketplace, but you can literally double your signed clients each month by improving conversion. We're going to share with you some proprietary technology, some AI strategies, and how to get ahead on your percentage conversion. And last, but certainly not least, is 5-star operations. We're going to share, again, some new technologies, and Tim's going to share his product, which I'm calling like 5-star legal, how to run your law firm with the best of AI to streamline operations, reduce costs, and give customers much better service. So here's what we're going to do today. You're going to meet your coaches. We're going to introduce each other. We're going to share these 3 big shifts. What's happening differently? Where could you take advantage of in attracting more leads? And the middle piece, how can you convert and close more great cases? And the final piece, some very significant evolution in building that 5-star reputation, improving your 5-star operations, and what that means and how to do it. We're going to talk about a lot of new tech and AI today. And we always start our meetings at 10 Golden Rules with the joke of the week. So this one's not going to be different. We're going to end with the joke of the week. And we're going to end with some Q&A. So grab lots of great questions, because Tim is a super smart guy, and I'll give you some great answers too. So why do we tell a joke of the week? Well, we're an EOS company. We run on the EOS system, if you're familiar with the book Traction. And one of our core values is to be fun and easy. So the TGR joke of the week, Why don't lawyers wear tuxedos? They prefer lawsuits. Okay, so sometimes they're dad jokes, sometimes they're bad jokes, but we start the meeting with a smile.
That's a pretty good one.
I teased a little bit. My friend Tim Sawyer, we've become fast friends. We're hanging out at a lot of the conferences and really shared mindset. I think you'll see that today. And Tim's a former two-time Inc. 500 president and co-founder. I mean, this guy's built companies that rock and roll, 2 private equity exits with a combined valuation of $90 million. He said, I love sales and teaching people how to sell. It even helped me in our conversations in how I think about how we bring our business to market. The new company that he's partnered with is FasterOutcomes, gives him the platform to apply his expertise in sales leaderships. And he likes to talk in threes. So that's why we're talking in threes today. Find, serve, and keep clients more effectively and profitably. And he loves to share the potential to drive real impact and teach others along the way. So Tim, does that sum up you pretty good? Anything you want to add?
Grateful. Glowing.
And Tim was going to say a couple nice words about me, hopefully.
Yeah, for starters, first of all, Jay, thank you for hosting this. Thank you for having me on. And I really do appreciate getting to know you and our friendship. As you can see here, guys, most of Jay already, he's the CEO of 10 Golden Rules. Real quick, I've got an affinity for Jay because those 2 companies that he just referenced were digital marketing and software companies. So very similar to what Jay's working on now. So we're kindred spirits in that sense. Best-selling author and a keynote speaker, managed marketing departments at huge companies like Coke, Sprint, McDonald's, and eDiets. Founder and CEO, as I mentioned, of 10 Golden Rules. They are an internet marketing firm for law firms. Many of my friends use Jay and nothing but great things to say. He's the host of the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing webinar and podcast. Featured in the Wall Street Journal, the Business Journal, and Fox Business TV. Wow. Selected for membership as a Titan for elite digital marketing agencies and recipient of the Sophie Award for most effective use of emerging media and Bernays Award. And I would be remiss if I didn't add that he's got the coolest conference in the world, one that we sponsored last year and fully anticipate going and enjoying again. So thank you for that, Jay.
Yeah, actually, this can be the great announcement, the grand announcement, because I signed the contract this week for TGR Live 2026.
Amen.
Strategies for law firms. And we're going to be back at the Opal Grand in Delray, March 15th and 16th. I think that's the Monday and Tuesday. So come in on Sunday. We're going to have a little welcome party on Sunday night, big party on Monday night. We're also looking for the legal industry's best musicians and singers because we've got one of those roll-up bands forming. There's another sneak announcement. Do you sing or play anything?
No, unfortunately, not a strength of mine.
You and I,
but I'll try. I'll learn between then and now, now and then.
We'll be backstage. Some of the stuff we're sharing today, we have prepared this Hottest Trends Handbook. So I'm going to share this link again, but I'm just putting it up front. If you're watching on video, you can grab our Hottest Trends for Law Firms Handbook. And Tim is going to do a free AI benefit analysis. And again, we'll share the links. So without further ado, let's get into the Law Firm Advantage 3 breakthrough shifts. And part 1 is attract better clients. And let's face it, look, the hottest thing going on today is, and really it's a dramatic shift in the market. Google is showing these AI overviews, their version of ChatGPT, 30% of searches. Now, I want to sort of highlight this because that is a dramatic shift, right? If you think about it, 30% of the time, Google calls it one-click results. 30% of the time, people can answer their question without clicking on an LSA, without clicking on an ad, without clicking on a maps, without going to your website. And that's a dramatic change in the industry. ChatGPT is significant too. And ChatGPT is grabbing 8 or 9% of the search market. So it's very significant. But if you think of it, Google's still the big dog by far and away. Google is 10x. And number 2 is YouTube, which is owned by Google. And then everything else pales in comparison. So the vast majority of our searches, the vast majority of our traffic goes through Google. And when I say us, I mean lawyer websites, in particular, personal injury lawyer websites. It's a little different. You can generate traffic on Facebook for some of the other categories, but we're going to talk a lot about lawyers today and a lot about personal injury. A lot of things we talk about are relevant for everybody else. But this is a game changer, and that's why I'm emphasizing it. Here's what a search looked like before the AI overviews. And then we're watching these coming in labs. But now Google's saying 30% of the searches look like this. So how do I choose a car accident attorney? And they're showing this AI overview, is what they call it, AI overview result. And that's their version of ChatGPT. Now, if I click show more, the good news is Google is showing the websites they used to compile the answer. So ChatGPT, AI overviews, Google Gemini, it goes out, it reads the entire internet, and it comes up with the answer, the best answer to your question. Can you get laid off on light duty? And this is our first client result that we found, where our client's answering questions. We'll talk about that in a minute. And they're part of the answer that Google compiled. And ChatGPT is showing their homework now too. This is one of my buddies, Spencer Ehrenfeld. It was the first one I found on the ChatGPT results. But a lot of the rest of them are Forbes, Super Lawyers, Avo, Super Lawyers, right? So it's those big listing sites that ChatGPT is answering in these results. Now, I would argue that part of our industry has significantly changed. And SEO, as we know it, search engine optimization, is partially being replaced by AQO, answer questions optimization. And the reason for that is that the big opportunity for these AI overviews is at the top of what we call the cycle of search, or the funnel of search. So at the top of the funnel, when people are first in a car accident, and I've been in a couple, as a layperson, and before I worked with a lot of lawyers, like 15 years ago when I was rear-ended, I didn't know if I needed a lawyer. I thought I could trust my insurance company. But once you start realizing your insurance company is not that forthcoming with funds and repairs and payments for medical, you start asking questions like, do I need a lawyer? Okay. What's the average settlement for a lawyer? And when you ask, do I need a lawyer? At the top of the funnel, this is where Google's particularly showing those AI overviews results. Now, when you say, who is the best car accident attorney in Miami, Google's going to show the more typical results that we were used to seeing 6 months ago, the local service ads, the maps. And the reason for that is Google still has $200 billion a year of search revenue. They're not going to throw that all away, but they do need to compete with ChatGPT. So they've got to find a balancing act where they're showing the AI overviews results. Now, in a recent interview, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, on the Lex Friedman podcast, he said that they're going to have to figure out how to monetize these results. So we're probably going to see paid results in these AI overviews. But so far, they're just keeping it clean. Well, I think what they're trying to do is train us not to go to ChatGPT, because Google can give us an answer with an AI overview result. So the other significant mindset shift, and we've been on top of this for 3 or 4 years at the 10 Golden Rules SEO department, is that Google has been rewriting their algorithms in order to accommodate questions, in order to understand human language, because they know that a lot of times we go to Siri, we say, hey, Siri, answer this question about car accident lawyers. Or we use Alexa, or we use Google Voice. So we now search differently. We ask in the form of a question. So at 10 Golden Rules, we've been answering in the form of a question, right? It's funny, but Siri just answered my question here. So we're answering questions like, what happens if I get hit by an Uber or Lyft? This is my friend and client, Jeff McDonald, and he's done a great job. We've done about 200 videos where he's answered questions. We search engine optimize those on YouTube. YouTube, I remember it says number 2 to Google, huge, massive website, way, way bigger than ChatGPT, TikTok, etc. And then we use that video on a search engine optimized blog. So we write a blog post on the website, resident on the website, use the YouTube video. So we're tying those 2 Google algorithms together. And then we also use those videos in social media. And very importantly, we're going to target the GBP, the Google Business Profile, or Google Maps. We're going to add content to the Google Maps with this product. Now, how do you get listed? So what other things can you do to take advantage of getting listed on those AI overviews? First of all, you want to cover topics comprehensively with detailed explanations and real examples. Come up with bulleted lists. These are some of the things that we're doing to get our clients listed in those AI overviews. Revisit your frequently asked questions. You probably have 3 on your website. You could have 50 frequently asked questions and answer questions really, really well. Become an expert or authority on other websites throughout the internet. So when your answers point back to your website and you're linked as the expert who answered questions, it's super powerful. PR as an authority signal. We're writing articles for PR companies, like for this journalist. She submitted it to USA Today, and we got links to our client as the expert. Build your local community brand. We're going to talk about branding in a minute, but local community links are very relevant in this algorithm. Important links like .gov links. Here's a couple advanced tips for the AI overviews. Publish with regular cadence. So we do this webinar series every month. We do a podcast every week. We publish pretty much every day now on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on all the different social media, on our blog. We get listed as an expert on other people's websites. Okay, so very important to have a regular continuity and become an entity, a known entity as part of Google's algorithm. Come up with proprietary data. This is, again, advanced tips, right? So if we do a study, what are the deadliest and most dangerous roads in Florida, and publish that study, do a press release, other websites link to our website, we become an expert. And a lot of times, ChatGPT and AI overviews are using these studies in their answers. Schema code, advanced coding, make sure, I'm not going to get into it, but make sure your web guys know what this is. And here's my super advanced tip for the super advanced folks in the room. This one is schema stacking, where you're actually going to put 5 schema codes, very advanced type of SEO coding, on one page. So you're going to stack schema to really make that page relevant. One other advanced tip, basically what you're going to do here is answer a question, but you're going to get that answered on LinkedIn articles, on Medium, on Substack. So you've got 5 or 6 answers which point to you as an expert for answering that question. Again, super advanced, but if you want to rank for things like, how do I select a car accident attorney? There's your advantage. Now, Tim's got some great strategies. He calls it the secret playbook of fast-growing law firms. Tim, this slide will build for you, so go ahead and let me know when to click.
I really appreciate it and love all the content that Jay's providing here. Super great strategies. But the one thing that comes to mind as I think about leading sales at FasterOutcomes in any organization that I've been involved in for the last 30 years is, if you think about what Jay just explained, we know that works, right? But as a principle, why do that work? And the reason is we want to increase the quantity and quality of traffic to our website and our phones, right? Ultimately, that's what we're trying to accomplish. And the reason I mention that is because as I'm looking at this, if I was a lawyer, someone responsible for the marketing in my law firm, the question that I'm asking myself is, do I want to increase the quantity and quality of traffic to my website, for which you obviously do? And then am I willing to put the work in to do that? And if so, when would be a good time to start? So I love webinars like these because it gives us an opportunity to reflect. And what we're talking about are, why do some firms consistently outperform local and national settlement averages? Number one, because they are relentlessly committed to growth, right? And they act like a CEO, not a legal operator. In other words, not a case manager, right? They're focused on the business as well as they are focused in the business. Secondly, they track performance big time, right? And I want to share with you the most basic KPIs, or key performance indicators, that we should be tracking. I don't care if you're Rob Levine, who I love, is a good friend. He's working 1,000 matters a month, or you've got 5 demands that you've got to get out this month. What we need to do is start to track ROI, because when we track ROI, it gives us the motivation to do what we need to do. One is, how much money did you spend on marketing? I hope you're spending that money with Jay, but how much money did you spend on marketing in a month? 2, how many leads did you generate? 3, what was the conversion rate of that? 4, what were the contingency rates, fees that you got? And how much did you spend to generate that revenue? And if we stick to just that simple model, right? Run the firm like a high performance business, track your KPIs, understand your numbers, right? Because I always like to say, you can't manage or improve what you haven't measured. And nothing is good or bad until it's compared to something else. How do you stack up against competitors in your area? One of the ideas you can do there is join a mastermind group, right? There's some really great mastermind groups, and Jay can point you in the direction around those. And they embrace, lastly, real quick, there's three things that every lawyer, every law firm needs to do really well. One is you need to aggregate data, right? So as soon as a car accident happens, slip and fall, we've got to gather all the data we need to start the case, right? Two is we have to analyze that data. Whether you're a family lawyer, a personal injury lawyer, you have to aggregate, and then you have to research and analyze that data. And then based on that, you have to act intelligently to provide the best representation for your clients, which will lead to the highest settlement values, which will lead to the highest contingency fees. So aggregate, analyze, and act. And AI, whether FasterOutcomes or somebody else, can help you in each one of those three areas. Big time. So that's my advice around that. Relentlessly committed to growth, act like a CEO, track key performance indicators, and use AI to aggregate, analyze, and act with intelligence. And we'll talk more about that as we go on. Thanks, Jay.
I love it.
So real quick, one of the tools that you can use for those folks joining us today is NotebookLM. NotebookLM is free. It's a Google product. Now, one little caveat is it's not safe to upload personal health information. It's not safe to upload financial information for your clients. It's not HIPAA or SOC 2 compliant. So you don't want to do that, but you can use non-personal data. Think about this. So Jay's just showed you how you can increase the quantity and quality of traffic to your website and phone. Now the question is, how are you going to convert it? And the way you're going to build conversion is you can use a notebook to create notebooks to upload past ads, reviews, blog content, to generate SEO pages and work with Jay's team to do that, and content instantly. And it doesn't cost anything. Spot trends to drive growth. We have a product called Knowledge, other folks do too, where we want you to aggregate all the data inside your law firm in a non-contaminated, encrypted AI instance so you can look at client patterns, top referral sources, messaging that consistently converts, and also you want to incorporate some of the tools that Jay's team has to measure call sentiment. How are those calls? What are the common elements in those calls that are consistently converting at higher rates? And what are the common elements that your highest performers are saying in the intake process to also increase those conversion rates? So at the end of the day, brand meets performance. The fastest growing firms align messaging, experience, and outcomes from the first click to the final settlement. And they know that that process is never done. We have to stay relentlessly committed to growth. Go ahead, Jay.
All right, I'm going to jump back into hot tactics and talk about Google Screen for a minute, because the LSAs are still right at the top of Google. They're the top 2 on a desktop, top 3 on a cell phone. And all of our clients, and Tim, you want to be right at the top of Google, right?
Yes, I do.
We all want to be right at the very top of Google. And guess what? At the very top of Google, if it's not an AI overview answer, which is about 30% of the instances, it's these local service ads. So everybody wants to know, how do I get there? How do I stay there? Because a lot of people have fallen out of the top 2. So here's some of our clients right at the top of the screen. And the first thing, we call it our secret algorithm. And this is in our handbook. We'll give you the link to again in a few minutes. But the first thing is you cannot miss any phone calls. You don't want to miss phone calls, but now Google's actually tracking you with this program. They're recording all the calls. They're listening to all the calls. And not only can you not miss calls, you got to answer within 15 seconds. They're tracking it. They're reporting on it in the back end of the local service ad program. And they're docking you every time you miss a call. So very, very important. Second thing, if your regular answering machine is, hi, welcome to such and such law firm, press 1 if you're a new client, press 2 if you're an existing client, press 3 if you're a doctor or medical provider. The answering machine has got to go away in this program. You can't have the phone trees or an answering machine of any kind. What you want to do is, if it's a local service ad call, if it's Google Screen, just your phone guys can do this. Your IT guy can do it. Automatically press 1 if you're a new client and answer the phone. You got to pick up the phone. You got to pick it up on the first couple rings. Super important to getting in the top of the rankings. Now, look at this. Google's actually posting a lot of times the tracking. This is particularly if you're using the message system, which is, we do recommend turning on the messages, but you've got to answer instantly. You've got to have a solution. We have some technology I can share with you. You've got to answer those instantly. But you see, David Eltringham, my buddy here in Boca, typically replies in a few minutes. Rubenstein Law typically replies in 1 day. Who's the consumer more likely to message, right? Everybody wants their answer fast. You're going to set up the program to maximize leads. You've got to get in the back end of the system and designate the leads incredibly quickly as booked or archived. You need 1 to 2 new Google reviews per week. Now, this, for a small firm, this is a lot. For a big firm, this is good news. You don't have to have the most reviews to rank in the LSAs. You have to have a regular cadence. And if you're designing an incentive program for your paralegals and your assistants, don't get 30 reviews at once and then no reviews for 6 weeks. You want to design the program with weekly bonuses for getting those reviews. And the last strategy that's working really well, the multi-location strategy. So we're doing very deep analysis for our clients of figuring out where are the competitors, where are the potential clients, and where should we open that second or third location. And we're happy to help you with that as well. Why do we know this works? Well, Morgan & Morgan has a massive head office in Orlando, the biggest personal injury firm in the country, but they have 6 locations in Orlando. Nobody's told me that for sure, but I'm sure it's for Google Maps and LSA listings throughout the city. Tim, you want to jump in on any of the LSA stuff?
No, go ahead. You got it.
Yeah. I know you like this section. So we do a lot of research for our clients. And every time we meet a prospect, we do this deep analysis, some of the stuff you're seeing here today. And one of the simple things, we do a search, right? Personal injury lawyer, Phoenix, Arizona. And my buddy Jeff Phillips comes up and Morgan & Morgan. And then I was searching in Philadelphia, and my Philadelphia client came up and Morgan & Morgan. And I was searching right here in South Florida, and my buddy who has a small one-man personal injury firm came up, and John Morgan. And so I asked myself, how can John Morgan come up in the local service ads all across the country? And the answer is not because he has the biggest budget, because you can't buy your way to these LSAs. As a matter of fact, if you put in your budget like $1 million a week, the algorithm automatically sets it off, and it like doesn't understand. It doesn't have that many searches, right? So we know that the best thing to do is have about the right bidding. So you're bidding enough that you could get as many clicks and cases as is sort of appropriate for that marketplace. And that's something we got to figure out based in each market. So why is Morgan coming up all the time? And I figured it out. And it is his other advertising, his branding, where he's spending $200, $300 million a year on TV, billboards, sponsoring the UFC and all kinds of things that he can do. So why is that significant? Well, part of the algorithm, part of the LSA secret algorithm is the click-through rate. So if they recognize your face and your brand, the consumer, and the consumer clicks through, and then you've got to answer the phone like a demon, right? You've got to get those reviews and high reviews. You've got to get 5 out of 5 Google 5-star reviews. You've got to respond super quickly. You've got to have a very fast call answer rate we talked about. You've got to get in the back end and disposition each of the leads and give Google a rating, and proximity plays into the algorithm. So why am I explaining this? Well, the branding is a big part of the algorithm because obviously it's going to improve your click-through rate. Now, we don't have $400 million like Morgan & Morgan. Nobody else in the country does. But one thing you can do is be very, very consistent with your branding. Google had a massive leak last year, and we in the SEO industry tried to understand what was behind the Google rankings. But the big takeaway is brand matters more than anything else. So what you can do as a small firm is figure out your brand meaning and brand message, and then be very, very consistent. Like a good strategic marketer, like every ad agency would recommend, get your brand figured out and then deliver it consistently across everything you do. So you can be the no fee unless we win firm. You can be the big check firm. You can be the community, the best in the community gal. You can be the we fight the insurance companies on your behalf. You can be the best in court. Whatever you pick something, stick with it, and figure out your branding. This is Amanda, and she actually changed her name to demanda, her last name to demanda. First of all, it rhymes with Amanda. Secondly, it means legal demand and lawsuit in Spanish. She's based in Miami. And here's her entire brand guide. She shared this from the stage. Who we are, what we stand for, the brand kit, the design concept, the typography. And look at how that rolls out in her social media communications. Very, very consistent in her delivery of that Amanda Demanda, who we are, what we stand for, and even the color schemes she delivers on stage with her outfits. John Barry, great personal injury attorney, also has a lot of veteran work. He does national VA work, and everything they do, they make a decision. Like if they're doing a community activity, if it supports veterans, they're all in. Their branding is very consistent. Their messaging is very consistent. John's a veteran. His dad's a veteran. His brother works in the firm. He's a veteran. And they hire a lot of veterans, and they're very, very consistent with that personal brand. My friends Cooper Hurley in Virginia, the car crash experts, new branding they came up with, and that appears on their logo, on all their socials, the car crash experts. Like they said, they pick in one lane and they're going hard into that one lane. So quick mini workshop. How do you define your law firm brand? 3 questions you should answer. Who are you really? Are you the bulldog, the neighbor? What do you stand for? Justice, helping, taking down greedy insurance companies. How will you prove it and deliver it? Consistent visual identity, stories and video, YouTube, community presence. Then create your brand guide. Use the logo and slogan everywhere. And I can't tell you how many firms we look at. We look at their website, we look at their socials, we look at their email signatures. They're all different. So you want to be very, very consistent. Like I said, you don't need to spend $400 million, but you need to be incredibly consistent in everything you do. Use the same logo, fonts, and colors. Even script your intake team and train your staff so everybody knows exactly who you are and what you stand for. Tim, I know you like to talk about the brand piece, so why don't you chip in here?
It's interesting. I live in the state of Rhode Island. Rhode Island has a million people. It's not a huge state. However, in Rhode Island, the absolute personal injury king, his name is Rob Levine. And Rob Levine, 15 years ago, and I'm friends with Rob. I love Rob. He came out with the tagline, the heavy hitter. And he has been focused for 15 to 20 years on the heavy hitter. And all his ads are targeted to, he's got a baseball bat. He has got a lot of fun things. Now he's migrating a little bit. Morgan & Morgan has come into our market. I won't share his new strategies. But if you live in Rhode Island and you're over 15 years old, heavy hitter is the one for you. Call 1-800-LAW-4222. Everybody knows it. And he is so disciplined about that brand. Now, does everybody have the resources that Rob Levine does, or even the ambition to be in the top 2, 3, 1% of law firms? The answer doesn't have to be yes, but certainly my encouragement, and one of the exercises I love to talk to law firms about, is understanding who you are, what your brand is, and then projecting that to the world. And you can't manufacture a brand. It's got to be authentic, right? And so one of the things I recommend, if you've got a team of 5, 7, 10 people, I would love to go into your office and the top lawyer or the managing partner says to me, oh, we've got a very unique brand. And I say, okay, I'd like to take 3 people in that law firm, put them each in a different room and say, write 2 paragraphs about the brand, what your law firm stands for, what's the unique selling proposition to the universe. And very seldom do we get a 70 or even a 60% consistency rate across all 3 individuals or 5 individuals. So I think it's really important to spend time together as a team. Let that brand manifest itself based on skill sets, passion, love, whatever it is. And then everyone's got to be on board. The best brands, people say, you know what bugs me about these people? They all say the same thing. That's when you know you have a brand, right? It's when one person's saying this and one person's saying that. And we can get on board. Once we understand the motivation, the emotion behind it, then we can use AI tools to get everybody on the same page. We can develop scripts. We can develop playbooks, toolkits. It's really easy to do, but it all starts with who are we as a brand, and then stick to it. That's Jay's takeaway here. And I've seen it firsthand, and now Rob's on the move in other states, and can't wait to see it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
All right. So that was strategy number 1, attract. I mean, obviously, Tim and I could do a whole week's session on how to attract more clients. So Tim is a 20-year ad guy. I'm a 20, 30-year ad guy. But that's some of the stuff that's really making a difference, the breakthroughs today. Part two is we call close more cases. And it's pretty simple, like calls convert at 10 to 20%. And this is very important. If nothing else, hone in on this because chats converted about 10% and forms around 5%. And this is broadly speaking across all of our clients. But one simple thing you want to do, first of all, a lot of people don't even have chats, right? The first thing you want to do is add chat to your website. If you don't have something like an intaker chat is what we're recommending. This is actually Joe from Intaker. We have the Intaker chat on our website, 10 Golden Rules, if you want to see it. But I'm sure you've been seeing these folks popping up in the screen, and then it streams you through. Were you in a car accident? Is it another issue? And it makes it super easy for you to answer. And it's AI and automated. So it's very, very fast to get answers back to the consumer. And guess what? The AI is now better than humans. It answers quicker. It's trained better. If you have a new chat person on the line, there's no way they're as good as the AI. Now, let's say you get 100 phone calls and you convert 10% of those. And a lot of firms we meet are in this scenario, right? So they're signing 10 of those as cases. They don't have chat on their website. And you might get 5% on your forms. So you might get one additional case. So a lot of firms we meet, they're signing 5 or 10 cases a month, and they're looking to improve. Tim's going to talk about treating intake like a high stakes sales team.
Yeah, so a couple things here, right? And ultimately, we're talking about conversion in the intake process, and it is a sales process, right? So I think fundamentally, let's go back to what we talked about at the outset. Number one, let's try to understand those numbers, right? Jay just showed you some numbers to compare to, 10%, I think 5% of chats, and then the 5% forms, and then 10% of chats. Know what those numbers are that they should be, and then know what your numbers are, right? Let's start with that. However, when we talk about using AI, there's kind of two groups of thought, really. And you speak to some law firms and they have negative default thinking. And what do I mean by negative default thinking? This is too much to process. I don't understand AI. And what if I make a mistake? So those law firms, and certainly there's no shortage of information out there where some law firms have made some bad choices. They're not verifying the information they're getting in open source AI. We need to stay away from that. But what we can't do is think, okay, this is too much to process. I don't understand it and I'm not going to do it. Because the reality is AI is going to be an important part of the legal landscape going forward. And the fastest growing law firms embrace change. They run to change. They don't run from change. They're fearless leaders when it comes to change. They want to understand it and they want to know how to implement it, right? So their mindset is, I see the potential. This is going to give us a major edge, and let's get ahead, not fall behind, right? And so then high performance law firms pursue innovation, not perfection. As I said before, it's a constant state of improvement. It never ends. Goes back to being relentlessly committed to growth, right? But if you think about the way AI, I made a few notes and it's really important to understand. We want to make sure that we're using LM to create scripts, FAQs, real world objections, handling, using your own firm's data. So taking data from successes and struggles that you've had in the past, using that information to allow AI to help you optimize that funnel, right? Discover creates structured, so using Discover, that's an AI term, structured, ready to act case briefs from messy notes and forms. So now you're processing the case faster. In addition, by the way, when cases come in, we can use AI to prioritize those cases, right? That's a very common use. Is this an A case, B case, C case? I've seen a lot of great speakers at 10 Golden Rules talk about that, right? Now, the interesting part about that, real quick, is the idea that there's A, B, and C cases, but implied in that is there's A, B, and C lawyers. That drives me nuts. What AI does, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, is it levels the playing field. So it makes every lawyer an A lawyer. Think about that for a second. If you had your best lawyers working on every case every time, it's a known fact that there is a right way to process a case. The top law firms, the fastest law firms in the country know how to do that better than everybody else because there is published settlement data, right? So there are people who consistently beat other law firms, right? I'm not trying to offend anybody. Just the reality is that there are certain firms that get results because they have a specific process and they're using AI to enable them in every step and every aspect of that process. So when you see one firm gets 10,000 average contingency, one gets 16,000, that means they're getting 60% more money for the firm. But more importantly, I'm not an attorney, that means they're getting 60% higher settlements for their clients. And as a layperson, I don't want to leave my car accident to chance.
So Tim touched on it. We've actually built it. We've built an AI intake conversion program. So what we did is we accessed some of the best intake experts in the world, some of the folks that have been on my podcast and spoken on our stage at TGR Live. And we downloaded a lot of their expertise, literally from our podcast interviews and our on stage. And we created the world's #1 intake conversion coach. Then we downloaded calls from our clients and we come out with this tremendous feedback for the clients. So what are the strengths of their calls? Politeness and professional demeanor. 9 out of 10 calls, the receptionist or intake agent was friendly. Callers addressed by name. Effort to collect basic information. Consistent structure in the early intake. Attempts to schedule appointments. Key areas for improvement: no sales mindset, weak emotional engagement, no calls exhibited urgency, empathy, or persuasion. Callers were allowed to end the call without being retained. Train the agents to use empathy anchors and affirm client pain. Offer a clear next step. Example: we'll call you back if it's something we can help with. This shows zero urgency or rapport. No closing language, no retainer sent. So we got to fix that. You got to live close by sending out the retainers. I'm sending you a text with our retainer. Let's review it together now so we can get started helping. Missed opportunity to educate or create trust. Explain what will happen next if you choose our firm. Use authority statements. We help hundreds of accident victims each year. Here's what we'll do for you. No structured triage or disqualification script. Intake agents didn't consistently ask about key qualifying details. Implement a standardized script based on Gary Falkowitz's 5-point legal intake framework, available on a previous 10 golden rules on our YouTube channel. Some quick wins: no empathy. Train the agents on an opening empathy. Builds trust, increases conversion. No retainer sent. Add DocuSign. Week follow-up. Add 5-day automated SMS email series. No tracking. Set up KPI dashboards. Here's the training system recommendations. Develop a script. Connect, qualify, and close framework. Create a KPI tracking system. Create a coaching call program. Listen to 3 calls per week. Score in empathy and triage. Use a scoring rubric. Monthly secret shopping. Text and video follow-up automation. And then we provide a sample script, a sample intake script to our clients. So super powerful, using AI, using custom programming, awesome results. And then this is another tool we've built. It's a proprietary tool. We call it TGR Boomerang. It's like this Australian boomerang. Let me grab my boomerang here. I keep it on my shelf. And this is the Australian tool. If I throw it out, I'm not in my house, it's going to come back to me and I can grab it, right? That's what a boomerang is. In technology, we developed this tool called Boomerang. If you miss a phone call, and we talked earlier about the importance of not missing phone calls, but guess what? Every single firm, including Morgan & Morgan, misses phone calls. In the Google LSA program, a lot of people hear the recording. When you're using CallRail and it says this call is being recorded for quality assurance, a lot of people hang up. That call didn't even hit your switchboard. It doesn't matter if you have 3 people waiting there to pick up the phone, you miss phone calls. So the Google screened LSA hangups. And lastly, form fills. What we do is we grab this information, if it's a missed call or a form fill or a Google screen, and we instantly text it to the intake department with the contact information and the phone number, and then they can immediately call this person back. So we're reactivating missed leads. This could be 5 or 10% of your calls. And this, every percentage is really, really critical to improving your conversion rates. So let's go back to the numbers we first talked about. Tim, we said if you get 100 calls and you converted 10%, you sign 10 cases. But if you get 100 calls and you convert at 20%, if we convert some of those missed leads, those missed calls, if we get back to them instantly and we get them on the phone and we improve our overall conversion rate, and we develop things like follow-on, we can improve those 100 phone calls to 20 cases a month. The 30 chats, if you didn't have chat, you're missing out. But if you convert those 30 chats at 10%, there's 3 cases. And if those forms, instead of sitting in someone's email box all day, forms degrade dramatically after 5 minutes. So when someone fills out a form on your site, you've got to call them back instantly, because they're going to very quickly get itchy and they're going to do another Google search and find another lawyer to reach out to. So in the earlier example, the same number of leads generated 11 cases. Now we've got 25 cases. So we went from 11 signed cases to 25 signed cases using proprietary technology, using some smarts, using some training, raising the bar. Tim said this, so I'll let him say it.
Intake is the ultimate sales function. And I love the process that you just laid out, Jay. It's very deliberate. There's simple action steps. And think about this, just that one idea, right? Hey, listen to 3 phone calls. Let's go a little faster with our email, text, chat responses, and we can double, right? Double our conversion rate, which will huge boost ROI in terms of your marketing investment. And I want to challenge folks, it's not an option to put processes in place like Jay just described, because the reality is there's people out there like me who are trying to figure out, and many have already done it, how to create bots that can mirror that process, right? So again, I was at 10 Golden Rules and one of the speakers got up and was showing these flawless AI agents that had the right tone, the right inflection in their voice. Oh, how are you today? Oh, I can't believe you were in a car accident. I hope you're okay. And they even tried to trick them. Oh, where are you located? Oh, I'm in Denver. I'm right next to Mike. Mike's the attorney who runs these people are flawless. So my point is, we can't get stuck in, oh, my intake process is okay. Jay just gave you some really simple action steps that you can take today to improve it, double the return on investment. And we have to keep in mind that there's a bunch of folks running around the country right now that are working on creating bots to compete. Staying still is not an option.
That's a great point. The one thing I would encourage everybody to do is you got to start experimenting. Like we have a R&D team, and part of our EOS mission, one of our core values is called Lead the Trends. As a matter of fact, it was written in my first book, 10 Golden Rules. And golden rule number 10 is lead the trends. And that means when something new comes along, you got to jump on it immediately, figure it out, test it, take advantage of it. Because sometimes you only have a 6-month window to beat your competitors to market. Like we got our clients signed on local service ads right out of the gate. And some of those clients got 200 leads in the first couple months because they were right at the top of Google. And there was only, our client in New York was the number 5 approved in the local service ads. He was getting 200 cases a month and then 150 and then 100. But when he was number 5, only 5 people right at the top of Google. Next, there was 50, 500. Now there's probably 5,000 or 50,000 in the local service ad program. So got to jump on those. And so that is lead the trends. So get in there, figure it out, test it, actualize it. Okay. Law firm advantage, 3 breakthrough shifts. Number 1, we talked about attracting more customers. Number 2, we talked about the power of converting more opportunities through technology and training and operationalizing your intake. Part 3, we call 5-star operations. Now, Tim, this is a graphic for a 5-star hotel. You've probably stayed in a few 5-star hotels in your day, right?
I've been fortunate enough, yes.
And if you haven't, I highly recommend it one day. Take advantage and get a night at a 4 Seasons somewhere in the world. And a lot of us are lucky enough that we go to the legal conferences, and sometimes they're at a 4 Seasons. And these 5-star hotels have something amazing, right? They have 5-star service. So when you pull your car up, a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, welcome, Mr. Berkowitz," or they'll ask your name, and then they'll send a note to everyone on the staff. And now they know Mr. Berkowitz and Mrs. Berkowitz have entered the building. When you walk to the check-in, this gentleman, the concierge, is going to say, "Oh, hello, Mr. Berkowitz, welcome back," or "Welcome to the 4 Seasons." And then When you want to book theater or restaurant reservations, the concierge, and I don't know what it means, but that's what they do, is they make your visit 5-star and they make sure you can get into the best restaurants and the best tickets around town. They take care of everything you need. You need dry cleaning or whatever. And then all of the staff are trained at a super high level. I've seen the staff huddle that they have at the Ritz-Carlton, and they go through, they have 15 or 17 service policies or creeds, and they go through one of them in every meeting, and they go through it and they talk about examples, and they super highly train their staff. Now, the reason why I'm explaining this is that you want to start thinking of running your law firm like a 5-star operation. So from the minute they call, you have supremely trained intake personnel. You treat them like a 5-star hotel, 5-star restaurant. And the purpose of that, all the way through, there's a concierge that can answer any question. You're using the best software. You're using the best services. Tim's going to talk about FasterOutcomes as the software to use to service your clients. And the purpose is that at the end of it all, you want to get 5-star Google reviews. I'm sorry, I need those 5-star Google reviews. As your marketing agency, as your marketing consultant, it's mission critical. It's not optional anymore. I need those 1 to 2 5-star Google reviews to get you ranked in local service ads, to improve your Google Maps, and your overall SEO is built heavily today on the local SEO, the Google Maps framework of those Google reviews. So you've got to start thinking about, how can I operate with 5-star customer service? Now, there's a couple apps that we recommend to our clients in the marketplace where literally your customer is injured, he or she's accessing information on an app. And everybody knows how to use apps today. Most of your customers are a little bit younger, and we know how to use an app to order Uber, app to order Uber Eats, app to look at streaming. Everybody's very familiar. So there's a couple great apps that give the clients 24/7 access to real-time updates on their case. The number one bar complaint is, I don't know the status of my case. When I got injured, I was constantly trying to find out, did you get the MRI? Did you get the MRI to the next surgeon? What did he say? And I was calling and I was not getting any answers. Oh, I'll call you back. I'll call you back. So you give the customer enhanced transparency, eliminate that black box where my case went into the lawyer. I don't know what's going on. I'm anxious. See the key milestones. So they'll know exactly, we got your MRI. It's been sent over to the surgeon. We know exactly what's going on. Easy communication. But the most important thing, now I don't have to call the law firm all the time. I don't have to email them and wait for an answer. I'm getting proactive updates when you got my MRI. Automated notifications and reminders if I've got a hearing, if I've got a Zoom meeting with the insurance company, if I've got a treatment. You want to make sure they're doing those things, not missing them. And these tools have multi-language support. So they can ask a question in Spanish, you answer it in English, and you send out the answer in Spanish. Now, what's the advantage for the firms? Increased efficiency and customer happiness, right? You automate routine tasks like updates and appointment reminders, centralized communication. So you're freeing up your paralegals to actually work on the case instead of just answering calls and emails all day. Identify potential issues early. It identifies the tonality of those calls. Each employee can handle a larger caseload, and there's seamless integration with case management systems. Some of the new AI in these tools, it learns from your firm's data, it predicts the best responses, it has case updates, and then the paralegal, it actually writes the response, like recommended responses, and the paralegal can either push send, they can tweak it, they can rewrite it, or they can forward it to the attorney if they want to make sure they're answering correctly. There's AI message urgency. So the AI is determining, like, what are the critical ones we got to get back to immediately due to the sentiment or the urgency. Identify if a client's at risk of missing a hearing or an appointment. Detects tone and anxiety. And then there's case summary. So if someone new comes on the case, or if the senior attorney wants to find out, they can immediately find out what's the sentiment, what's qualitative and qualitative scoring, recommends actions and follow-up items. And what are we looking for? Well, look, if you give 5-star service, you get 5-star reviews. Again, here's my buddy Jeff Phillips. He's up to 2,226 4.8 stars. And by the way, 4.8 stars is really, really good, because if you had 2,000 5-star reviews, nobody would believe it. So 4.8, 4.9 is really, really good. And equally important are client referrals. Everybody wants more referrals. Tim, you love referrals, right?
Love referrals.
because referrals are the best leads you can ever get. And previously, I didn't have a way to help my clients get more referrals, right? That was always up to them. But now we can help by improving the 5-star operations, helping them give great service, and they're going to get more referrals. And then we do things like sending out the newsletter, social media, printed items to the past clients to remind them to get the more referrals. Now, one of the best ways you can be better lawyers is by using AI. And Tim isn't just here because he's a great buddy of mine and a great sales guy and a great trainer. He's going to tell you about his product today.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I want to point out. So first of all, I believe, and hopefully you can tell throughout this conversation, that getting the best outcome for your client is the best marketing that you can do, right? That's a hard stop for me. Let's try to get the best outcome from the client. I'm going to show you how we can do that in a minute, or talk about how we can do that in a minute. The other thing I want to talk about is the use case that Jay just showed, right? So the output we're seeking is 5-star reviews. The input is how do we provide 5-star service? And I was just in New Orleans at the Four Seasons, and it was 5-star service, so it was great and wonderful. But here's my point. So let's say as a use case, using our knowledge product, you took all the data that you had around anybody who's given you a review, positive or negative, and then you mapped what were the common traits, what were the things that happened inside those cases that led to positive review, a 5-star review, and what were the common traits that led to a 1-star or a 2-star review. Very quickly, again, let's go back to what AI is very good at: aggregating, analyzing, and plotting a course of action. You could put the AI to work for you to analyze what can we do better to get more 5-star reviews. That's the output we're looking for. And then the AI will go to work and it will aggregate, analyze, and plot a course of action for you. So you can absolutely use your own data very simply to create a blueprint or a playbook to get more 5-star reviews, and ultimately starting with getting the best results. So real quick, what we want to do, and as I travel the country speaking with lawyers, the best lawyers all tell me the same thing. Tim, maximizing the value of the case starts at hello, not after we've gotten all the medicals, not after we've gotten all the financial information and we're getting ready to create a demand letter and pre-litigation. That's the end of the cycle. Where you win is knowing how to set the case up to get the maximum value for your client and the maximum contingency fee for your firm. And what AI does is it allows you to simply just imagine starting, you upload your case, and the first question the AI asks you or prompts you to ask is, how do I maximize the value of this case? And then it starts to build the playbook, right? The next question, is there any evidence of traumatic brain injury? Next question, is there any evidence that this is a candidate for mass tort? Next question, where are the errors in my case? Next question, are there any gaps in treatment as we're analyzing the medical chronologies?
And Tim,
right?
You're talking about your FasterOutcomes product now, right?
Our FasterOutcomes product. So what it does, Jay, it literally tells you what to do.
These questions, is it asking the lawyer or is it asking the data, those questions?
So it's asked, once you upload the data, great point. So we provide the prompts for the lawyer to use to get to the ultimate result every time, right? Because as we know, not every lawyer has the same approach, but there is a universal approach to get to the best outcome every time. And we provide that approach. So very, very simply put, and I appreciate the opportunity, Jay, all we need to do is upload the information into the portal, and then you have a chat feature that allows you to communicate with the documents, but also has an external research component. So once you start working the case, you literally think, and I use the analogy, and I know some people will hate it, but I'm from New England and it is what it is. Not everybody's Tom Brady, right? And as I travel the country speaking with lawyers, I'll say, well, passing the bar is like getting drafted. You're in the NFL. But as we know, once we get in the NFL, not every player gets the same outcomes, right? Some win 12 Super Bowls, some win none. Well, what our platform allows to happen is everybody becomes Tom Brady, or insert your favorite quarterback, your favorite running back. And I like to say, so imagine you have a tool now that drafts like the best litigator, investigates like the best forensic analyst, analyzes records like a radiologist, researches like a legal expert, and we actually have neurologists working on the platform that are using the analysis to provide expert witness testimony. So the platform, now you have a neurologist working for you 24/7, right? Because not everybody's the best at analyzing medical records. Not everybody's the best at analyzing the information contained in a case. That's the ABC. So what Faster Outcomes does is it allows everybody to be the best team member you have every time on every case. So that's the benefit of AI. That's our pro product. That's the research component, and the analysis component is our discover product. And then we have a product called knowledge that everybody absolutely loves. And that's the ability to upload all your firm's intellectual property from inception. So if you think about it, every form template, the most current version, form template, case you've settled, and now it's encrypted with bank level encryption. So it's behind a wall. You can chat with all the information in your firm, pull up contracts, clauses, outcomes, settlements, whatever it is, and it becomes a fully functional, living, breathing law partner. And the perfect example is you have a lot of lawyers right now. It's an aging population, as we know, and we're not necessarily filling in as fast as we're aging out, right? What is the problem that causes? The problem that causes is you've got lawyers that have 4 decades, a body of work that spans 4 decades, right? It's not all organized in the same place. However, with knowledge, we can do exactly what we say. We can aggregate all that data. So let's say Jeff is the name of the top dog lawyer that wants to retire. Now you've got a succession issue. Well, if we could capture all Jeff's work and literally create for you something called Ask Jeff, when we get a new lawyer, when we get a new paralegal or a 5-year lawyer or that C lawyer or that B lawyer, we're trying to level them up, him or her up. We just go to Ask Jeff, or what would Jeff do in this case? So it's the ultimate tool to make everybody in the firm as efficient, effective as you possibly can every time. And I love it. And here's what I know. The last thing I'll say is, once what I know about Faster Outcomes AI and AI in general, once someone starts using AI effectively and they get over the fear and they step out in faith, not fear, they never use AI less. I'll tell you that.
So Rob Levine, 20, 30, 40-year firm, tons of boxes, I'm sure, somewhere in some storeroom in the back of the firm with files of legal history and great demand letters that probably Rob wrote himself in the early days, and arguments and all kinds of medical chronologies. Essentially what you're saying is you take all this information, you scan
interrogatories,
it, get it into knowledge, and then it creates this incredible brain of
it becomes your law firm's brain.
The history of the Rob Levine firm, all the cases they won, cases they maybe didn't get as good a settlement from. And now for your younger lawyers, or even for Rob himself, it gives you a tool that tells you exactly how to deal with every case, right?
And it allows you to spread that wealth of information across the entire enterprise, whether you have 3 lawyers, 50 lawyers, or 500 lawyers, right? That's the challenge. And everybody knows the challenges law firms face when top producing lawyers want to retire, right? There's a lot of data around that, Jay, to support that. They're not only going to take an economic hit, but they're going to take an intellectual hit historically, right? That's the biggest fear. And so to your point, all these paper files, hopefully firms have done a nice job putting that information into a digital format. You can scan it, whatever you want to do. We can go hunt and find that data. It takes a minute, right? We can go hunt and we'll crawl all the data that we have and aggregate that for them. So it's a really neat way to preserve legacy, to preserve revenue, preserve intellectual property, and get to where you're going faster, right? I mean, at the end of the day. So give me this clause on this contract the last time I handled a case like this. Boom. And you can talk to it all.
Awesome.
Amen.
All right. So we'll get to the end here and we'll leave some time for some questions of Tim about Faster Outcomes. This is a simple thing. It's been a huge win for us. And I mentioned earlier that originally 10 Golden Rules, we couldn't get our clients more reviews. We couldn't get our clients more referrals. And I came up with these referral and review boxes. I have a live box here. And the way it works is we send these boxes to past clients. Now, we create an incentive program for the paralegal. We give them 30 days after a case is closed to get a 5-star Google review. And we'll give a huge incentive. Like I mentioned Jeff Phillips earlier, he'll give as much as $100 restaurant gift card to a paralegal, to an assistant, to an attorney who gets a 5-star review from their client. So this stuff's money, right? Like I mentioned earlier, how important it is for the LSA program, for SEO, for your Google Maps. You need those Google reviews. So what we do after 30 days, after the paralegals have tried their best to get those Google reviews, we prioritize. This is a kit we do for Stewart and Stewart in Indiana. And we send out this kit and then we call up on behalf of the firm. We say, make sure you open up this kit. There's some great stuff in there. We sent you some of our products. We sent you a gift certificate. So you can either say, I bought you coffee and send them a $5 Dunkin' Donuts, or I bought you lunch, send them a $25 Starbucks. We have these VIP review cards. And we say, make sure you give out those review cards. If any of your friends or family slip or fall or get in an accident, we're going to treat them like VIPs the way we treated you. And then the final thing is we say, could you do us a big favor? I'm going to text you our link to do a 5-star Google review. Now, to be clear, you can't offer people a $25 gift card in exchange for a review, but you can make them part of your friends and family program. You can make them part of your Stewart and Stewart family and send them a gift box and ask them for a review. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So we're able to get those 1 to 2 Google reviews by using this program and stay top of mind for the referrals. So for the first time, the agency's found a way to contribute to this critical part of the program.
It's awesome.
Tim's got a couple more thoughts around mindset shift.
Yes. As a reminder, again, I understand that everybody is on some stage of the continuum of understanding and accepting artificial intelligence in small ways and big ways, right? And so my encouragement to you is to get comfortable with it, right? Start with ChatGPT, write a recipe, a poem, just get comfortable with it. Use NotebookLM as a really cool, it doesn't cost, their premium version is $20 a month, guys, $20 a month for you to create great playbooks, for you to create great training guides, scripts for your team. There's no risk, right? It's not like you're doing anything wrong. It's not nefarious. It's a simple way to get acclimated. And what I always see, like I said, is once people get acclimated with AI, they become very proficient with its use and very comfortable. So it's not too much to process. It's not that I get that you don't understand it right now. It's that we need to shift from negative default thinking to positive default thinking. And we want to mirror what the high performance law firms are doing, right? They're pursuing innovation, not perfection. And then the other question I want you to ask yourself is, in my world as an entrepreneur, we're always running our business as if it's for sale. What does that do? It requires us to think about where we're not maybe operating in an optimal way. So if I say I would buy this firm, but because my conversion rate is this, my number of reviews is this, because my bank account is this, instead of paying $1 million for it, I would only pay $500,000. The reason I encourage you to think like that is because then you can go about setting in motion simple steps to maximize or optimize your firm. Because, and then the interesting thing is there's some states now that are allowing non-lawyers to buy law firms. Once they open that up and private equity gets involved in this industry, it's off to the races. So you always want to think like your firm is for sale. Go ahead, Jay.
That's great. Actually, I think you got one more.
Yes, and this is my final plea, my encouragement, begging everyone to really think about this for a second. What I've discovered in 25 years as an entrepreneur is there's 2 reasons that an initiative doesn't really get the full effect, right? DK versus DE. DK is deficiency of knowledge, meaning you just didn't know what to do. We just spent 90 minutes together with covering more information than you could ever imagine. I encourage you to go back and watch it again. So that's uncommon in today's legal environment, and for educated professionals, seldom the case. However, the second and more prevalent reason that initiatives don't take root the way they should is because you knew what to do and you just didn't do it. And there's no worse pain than the pain of regret, Jay. I know that. Nothing worse than seeing your 2 best friends who are lawyers all of a sudden embrace modern trends, whether it's Jay's playbooks or FasterOutcomes artificial intelligence, and then fly ahead of you in a year and you're like, damn it, now I got to catch up. We don't need to do that. That's the dream killer. You know what to do. You just have to do it. Faster Outcomes is built for the execution piece. We can absolutely help you with that. Pro Discover Knowledge, tools that let your team move faster, deliver better outcomes. And remember, you have to do three things. You have to aggregate data, you got to analyze that data, and you got to plot a course of action for that data. Artificial intelligence and Faster Outcomes is the ultimate way to do that. And the only question is now that, what are you going to do? Thanks, Jay.
Awesome. Great job. And a couple things to wrap up, and we'll take some questions. First of all, Tim mentioned it a couple times, and I mentioned we put all of these recordings on our YouTube channel at 10 Golden Rules. So Tim said to watch the replay. It'll be up there in a couple days. So you just go to the 10 Golden Rules YouTube channel. And by the way, if you do me a huge favor and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're about 800. And I think once you get to 1,000, you have an official YouTube channel. Some of these are amazing. 10 hottest technology, 87,000 views. Secrets of local search, 74,000 views. Oh yeah, this one's amazing. Stephanie from Lawyerist. So there's some great content on there. Bob Simon, Chris Ronzio, Trainual, amazing stuff on training, creating systems. So there's awesome content on our YouTube channel. Let's just wrap up. First of all, attract better clients. And I think the number one thing that I raised today is we've got a seismic change in the search environment. 30% of Google searches are getting answered with one click. That means 30% of Google searches are not going to your websites the way they were 6 and 12 months ago. And the biggest opportunity, I think, we're trying to figure out where are we going to make up those 30% of clicks. And we're doing a lot of work on branding. We're doing a lot of work on YouTube videos. We're doing a lot of work on Facebook and TikTok videos. I think that's the next horizon. I think we can make up 10 or 15% of the clicks over there. What's your thoughts on attracting better clients?
You hit the nail right on the head. It's not about one thing. It's about a blended strategy. And it starts with getting great outcomes for your clients, because Google reviews have a huge impact on search. Search has a huge impact on conversion. Conversion has a huge impact on profits. And then work with someone like Jay's organization who can help you think through where to deploy your money, right? Your investment. Part of it is paid search. Part of it is looking at even artificial intelligence, right? Folks are going to ChatGPT and finding folks now, but it's sitting down and mapping out what that process looks like, and then being really deliberate about measuring the results, right? And my big takeaway would be right now, find out if you could figure out what your average acquisition cost to sign a client, and then what is your average contingency fee across the enterprise, and how close those numbers are. And that will help you dictate what are you willing to spend to get that contingency fee. And if you know that, it will unlock your mind, and you will start acting, and you'll step out in faith, not fear.
Tim, that's a great point. And I was going to mention that earlier, that it's super important. Like, we meet firms, a lot of times we say, how many leads do you get every month? And they don't really know. What's your conversion rate? They don't really know. We track that to the decimal point once we start working with them.
Yeah,
They know
super.
exactly how many calls they got, how many forms they got, how many chats they got, what the conversion percentage was, where those leads came from. They come from Google, they come from Facebook, SEO, pay-per-click, LSAs. You got to track that to the penny. And my coach, Josh Nelson, says, what you measure gets attention and improves. What you measure gets attention and improves. So you got to know your numbers. Tim talked a lot about that. Next piece is close more cases. And I kind of hit on the big point there. You got to know how many leads you're getting, what your conversion percentage is, and then start doing the work to train your intake team. Use tools like TGR Boomerang so you're not missing any of those calls or forms. You're immediately calling those leads back. Tim, what else do you say about closing?
I strongly recommend using AI to do an analysis of that, to see how you're performing against the averages, and then using a feedback loop from the AI, including the tools that Jay is using, to make adjustments, and then use tools like and I have no financial interest in it, NotebookLM, to create scripts, playbooks, and then stick to them. And I think that's going to ultimately lead to closing more cases, for sure.
And the last piece is building a 5-star reputation. And step number one is better lawyering. And Tim, just sum up faster outcomes if you can in a quick sentence or two.
Yeah, bottom line is it makes everybody the best quarterback in the NFL. That's what faster outcomes artificial intelligence does. It levels the playing field to get the maximum settlement and maximum contingency fee for your firm on every case, bottom line.
I love that. That's a great, great thought. And that's how I feel when you use AI really well. I've used it for hiring lately. I downloaded, I transcribed all the interviews using a tool called Fathom AI. I downloaded the interviews into a private chat AI. I put in the job description, I put in the disc profiles, and I rank candidates. It's amazingly powerful. So it makes you feel like the best hiring expert in the world. I've used it
Yeah.
to audit our sales calls. So it makes you feel like Tom Brady. It really does.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, who doesn't want to do the best they can for their client every time? It's good for the client and it's good for the firm.
So real quick, tell people about your free AI benefit analysis, and then we'll take
Yeah,
some
so
questions.
regardless of the size of the firm, there's a lot of customization that we do at Faster Outcomes. Not every firm is different. And I always say, if your goal is you want to smash your competition, we can absolutely help you do that. If your goal is you want to get home a little earlier to help put the kids to bed, we can come up with a plan that's optimized for that. So we'll work with you. There's a few questions we'll send you that you can ask in advance, and we'll be completely transparent with the benefits we think we can get and any costs associated with it.
That's awesome. And I mentioned our hottest trends playbook, handbook. I'm putting the link in the chat right now, or you can scan it with your phone and it'll bring up the same landing page, 10goldenrules.com/hot trends, HOTTRENDS, hot trends, 2 words, but linked together. And our playbook for the AI overviews, how to get ranked in those Google Chat GPT style results, the Google Screen secret algorithm. We touched on it briefly today, how to get ranked in Google Maps, and the brand guide strategies we talked about for branding. So, Tim, happy to take some questions now. If anyone wants to go ahead, put questions in the Q&A or the chat. We're also streaming live on LinkedIn. We had 186 people registered today on LinkedIn, Tim. I think it's the biggest registration we had since the first time we did local service ads, first time we did Google Screen. So you must be a popular guy.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, you're a handsome guy. It makes sense to me.
Thank you. Everybody wanted to see 2 coaches today. All right, we got a question from Athena and LinkedIn. How do you see AI transforming law firms' operations over the next 1 to 2 years, especially in areas like intake, client communications, and case evaluation?
So I think we covered a lot of that, right? So on the intake side, there's going to be a lot of learning around what's working and what's not working, right? So call sentiment is really important. That's very advanced AI. There's trends now that folks want to install call sentiment live so that they can flag, if someone's got a call center, they can flag the manager to say, hey, we're predicting this call is about to get a negative result. So they want the intake manager to intervene live, not post because it's too late. Obviously, AI is going to help with talk tracks and doing the research around what are the best traits of the top performers doing intake and then mirroring that. On the operation side, we talked about managing a case from the beginning, the onset. Literally, how do I maximize the value of my case? And also helping with cases that maybe we shouldn't pursue, right? Using AI to help us determine this case it's not viable, right? So there'll be a lot there. And then on the operation side, as we discussed, it's using your firm's own data to become more efficient, right? And so that's the knowledge base. So I see intake, I see conversion, sales, case management, and on the operation side, all will be super impacted by AI. And the one thing I do want to say is not at this point, and no one should be thinking that AI is going to replace any legal professionals at this point. AI is not 100% accurate ever. I don't care whoever tells you that. It's not 100%. I also know that there's not humans that are 100%. So AI can be useful, but it's trust and verify still.
Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, specific to Athena's question, intake is definitely seeing AI in all phases. Like, number one, recommended intaker, and they've built AI into the chat. Most of the other firms have built AI in. I mentioned that if you're using the LSA, the local service ads messaging, they're using AI to automatic respond and within seconds. So when a message comes in, the consumer is getting responded to very, very quickly. And then the second thing Tim touched on, AI calls. Like, I got an AI phone call today. I really couldn't discern it from a real person. It took me,
Drives you crazy.
it asked a couple questions. So the AI can speak better than I can. No, that doesn't say much. And then call analysis and training. I showed you our call analysis training program. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. Like, the kind of stuff you can do in AI, someone like Chris Mullins or Gary Berkowitz, who we mentioned earlier, the folks who've been on our intake webinars, there's great training on that, by the way, on the YouTube channel. It takes Chris about an hour to go through 3 calls and coach a firm. And we do that with all of our clients. We record the calls and give them the feedback. But the AI in about 10 seconds does about 3 hours worth of work for an intake specialist, created the strategic plan and everything that I shared with you today. So Tim's question comes in from Katie. With all the buzz around AI, many in legal ops and marketing are wondering, is AI going to replace me? How do you see the role of professionals evolving as AI becomes more embedded in law firm operations?
So my simple answer for that was, so I was having a conversation with an intake specialist the other day who I really appreciate, and she expressed concern about the use of technology. People can become depressed and dependent on it. And first of all, tell me one recent technology that doesn't become more addictive over time and cause people to get depressed if they use it too much. But at the end of the day, and then my favorite analogy is people go, well, education is going to change so much because people who are learning can become so dependent on AI. What should we do? My advice, get really good at using AI. The best professionals, the best lawyers, the best paralegals, the ones that are going to succeed, thrive, grow, blow past their competition, they're going to be really proficient at using AI and zero risk of being replaced. Those who become dug in and not willing to embrace, and they're walking in fear versus faith, those folks are at risk for sure.
I'm a little bit worried about the entry level jobs, because a lot of the things that we do now, we would have had someone very junior doing. The best insight, and this is pretty sophisticated. Again, it was that interview with Sundar Pichai, the Google CEO. And he said that AI has allowed them to reduce their costs and increase their efficiency about 10% across the board.
Yeah.
But what he said is that we're not spending 10% less or doing 10% less. Now we're setting our goals and outlining our projects to do 10 or 12% more than we could have done before. So I thought that was a really huge paradigm shift, because that's been true for us at 10 Golden Rules. The bigger we get, and thankfully we've been growing, and we have a little bit more ability to add folks and add specialties and add experts, we continue to add and we continue to do more things and offer more services to our clients. So by the same token, instead of being in fear of AI and AI is going to replace me, think of it differently. AI is going to free you up. You don't have to do the manual repetitive tasks that you did before. Now you can use this thing, the brain power, for that 10 to 20% elevation. And I think there's a real opportunity if you use that abundance mindset.
Absolutely.
Well, last one, let's do a quick one. What's your favorite legal podcast?
Legal Keys. And by the way, you may be able to, you can see it in the background. I'm officially announcing today that I've enjoyed this so much. Jay and I will be doing a follow-up podcast on Legal Keys in the next 2 weeks, where we're going to revisit a lot of the topics that, well, based on the feedback that we get, we'll revisit a lot of the topics that we discussed today. This is my open invitation, Jay, whatever your schedule works. I really enjoyed the time. Let's get you on the podcast and do a little quick review for the folks who enjoyed the content today.
I love it. I was recently on Charlie Mann's. I don't know if it's come out yet, actually. I was interviewed by Charlie Mann. what they don't teach you at law school. And I love Charlie's stuff, and I love dozens of other podcasts. I listen to Lex Friedman, I mentioned that. But here's an interesting thing. I actually really like the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. And believe it or not, I will re-listen to this one for two reasons. One, obviously, I want to hear how I answer questions and be a bit more precise in my own work. But what I find is a lot of times, like when I was interviewing Tim, as soon as I asked him a question, I was checking the chat and getting messages from my team. And I got to be honest, Tim, I didn't really hear exactly as much as I wanted to hear about your answers, and they were great. I re-listened to all of the 10 Golden Rules podcasts, so you can find that on iTunes, and also we have the podcast on the YouTube channel. Tim, this was great. Thank you so much for your time, your expertise, and frankly, your inspiration for the 3-step process here today.
Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Jay. Highly recommend everybody reach out to Jay, guys. He's a wonderful organization. I know a lot about digital marketing, and I highly recommend Jay and his team. They do a nice job.
Thanks, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. Please send questions and comments to podcast@10goldenrules.com. That is podcast@TENGoldenrules.com.